You know what? I'm going to do it again. I almost like the echo, love the echo more than the first shot. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is your Viking speaking, and it's Thursday. Who knew? So, how are you? How is everybody? Oh, you know what I can do? I can actually say something here. I can do this so that people know it's possible. Hello, everyone. Ta-da! Okay. Um, okay. Welcome to live chat. Remember to thing and what? All right. So somebody will come on. So this is kind of an interesting saga. This is my second live stream on YouTube, and this is also my 82nd video live since I began in November last year. And we had a little glitch last week on the weekend with the other platform who decided to give me a little talking to, because they sent me a picture that I then posted, and they said, well, no, you can't post that. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, then why did you send it? Really? And then I caught myself. I caught myself in mid kvetch because I realized that it's not going to help anything. It's not going to help anything if I go on and on with those people. It's not going to get me anywhere. I'm going to stay stuck. And that led me to, oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. If I stay focused on whatever that was, I'm not getting my stuff done. So all the power stays there. What is that about, right? Why would you do that? So in other words, what I had was a brilliant idea. And here's the idea. I was then, after the first incident, which actually wasn't being restricted on Facebook, it was my computer crashed for 3 days, and we recovered everything, but 3 days not knowing what to do and how to fix it. So that put me on edge, and that put me in an anxious place. That put me in a, is it soup yet? Or how little kids are when they have to go to the bathroom. And I was probably still in that state on Sunday when the second glitch, which was, you can't do that. And then the third, no, you can't do that, was the museum. A very reputable museum that had made a big splash in the media in Canada, that they were going to honor the best of Canadian children's television, and they didn't include my show, which ironically is You Can't Do That on Television. So I thought, okay, so no, seriously, I have to do something about this. So then I wrote a fairly lengthy thing called We Can't Do That at the Museum, apparently. And I then thought, no, you know what I need to do? I need to reach out to them. I need to find out what went wrong here, because something went wrong. And in the course of many messages back and forth, an extraordinary thing happened that made me blink like that, and then burst out laughing, because it was so incredibly foolish, silly, nearsighted, desperate, stupid, that I couldn't control, staying focused on being outraged, which means that I was being saved. My Viking god said, okay, now stop that. So here's what happened. I said, how could you not include our show? 53 countries around the world, the single most iconic, transformative television show ever. And they said, well, we had a long list of criteria and many, good choices. But one of them was enduring popularity. And so then I read that and I thought, okay, but we passed that. And so I listed all the reasons why we are enduringly popular. And the reply that I got sometime later, because obviously this is some poor soul whose job it is to answer queries on the message board, the reply was, actually, we meant puppets. Yeah, because it sounds exactly the same. I make that mistake all the time. I mean to say enduring popularity, and instead I find myself saying puppets. Oh, and we all laugh. So, and so then yesterday, a little issue with a courier company who sent me an invoice. Final demand for $2.45. Send a check. Final demand? Yeah, pay now, send a check. Or go online. Oh, well, pay now, go online. So when I made my best effort at going online, the thing crashed. So like into the payment portal crashed. So I went back and I got customer service and press one for press one for incipient madness, press two for frayed tempers, press three for and so I finally got through because it kept going around and around and around. Are you happy? No. Say, please reply yes or no. Finally, I figured out how to get through it, and I got to a human. And the human voice, hi, my name is Thing. How can I help you? And I said, oh, dear God in heaven, what a wonderful thing it is to hear a human voice. And there was this stunned silence for a second, and then the person laughed. And you know what happened? We had an amazing conversation. We did. We had an amazing conversation. And she said, thank you for having a sense of humor. And I said, if I didn't have a sense of humor, I'd be in a locked ward somewhere, I am sure, because we are so flawed. And we need to kind of spend the time to lean in and get to know each other in some way. So anyway, we had this great conversation. We laughed about all kinds of things. And I told her about this amazing book project I'm working on called Pivotry in Motion, which I will wax on about for ages to come. But she, at the end of the call, said, it is amazing to meet somebody who has chosen to be positive and present no matter what. And I said, thank you. It is amazing to meet someone who is that. Thank you. And she said, I meant you. And I said, I know. And I mean you. So what that gave me, obviously, was the opportunity to talk about this today. And by the way, good morning, Trevor John. How are you? TJ is a longtime friend of mine who has experienced many of the setbacks that I have. We are both military brats. We have both been transplanted swiftly and suddenly at the most opportune and inopportune times throughout our lives. And what this lovely person I was talking to yesterday said, in many ways, not merely the travel, but the requirement, the obvious everyday requirement to say, okay, so now where's the school in this town? And what is everybody wearing? And which bus do I catch? To reset with a great deal of enthusiasm, because we don't have a lot of time. And if we sit in a corner sobbing brokenly at opportunities lost, we miss out on the first few new days. So we get to choose. We always get to choose whether we are victims or Vikings. And I don't mean, when I talk about Vikings, I don't mean people who sail off to do horrific things. I mean people who are fearless when they must be, and resourceful and creative and determined and clever. A couple of things that are interesting about Vikings that people, who are caught up on all the the pillaging, is that my ancestors invented a lot of very, very interesting things. They invented a way to build ships using the lengths of wood lengthwise instead of crosswise, so that the ships were more pliable and resilient and could respond. They flexed very, very easily, so they didn't break, they didn't snap in bad weather. And the other thing that was possible, they made them fairly shallow. They could go up rivers, so they could surprise villagers who thought they had it covered by being 40 miles from the ocean. How you doing? Got gold? And they discovered it's called a sunstone, and it's a crystal that allows you, if you put it to your eye, you can get a sense of where the sun is on a really overcast day, which means they were able to navigate. It's like the first GPS. So many things. Well, hello, there's Freddie. Just got back from Chicago this past weekend. Yes, my friend Freddie Moore and his buddy Chris are doing this crazy movie called Chair. And when I talked to Chris about the concept, I said, so what's it about? He said, it's about a chair. I said, characters drive plot. He said, yeah. And characters respond creatively when they are presented with something they don't understand. And I thought, oh, Chris, aren't you the clever one? And Freddie and Chris are two of the people I interviewed for Pivotry in Motion, all of which is all about finding a better way to react to the hand you're given. So I had these events happen this week, and it would have been very easy to get caught up in the swirl, the frustration, the anxiety, the possibilities, all of which seemed grim. I read something the other day that worry is a product of our imagination gone off the rails. And I thought, yeah, that's very true. So when these things happen to me, and they seem to happen in a sequence, I didn't notice it, even though I'm trying to be aware. I didn't notice that I was bracing for impact, because I had just been impacted 3 times, and then, oh, look, the courier company. And I had to shake myself out of it. I had to bring myself back up to a place where no matter what has just happened to me, that's not the end of the story. That's not the end of who I was. It's the beginning of who I am. And Trevor John and I share quite a few moments that were really life-changing. And both of us, I think, I don't know, TJ, you'll tell me if I'm on the right track. I think both of us are really blessed, because we had that topsy-turvy global gypsy childhood that made us say, okay, well, that's not working. All right, what can we do next? How does this work now? And I was reminded, in kind of semi-preparing for this video, that there's a wall that we hit a lot of the time when we meet people who say, we've always done it this way. And so they firmly stop you from inviting them to try something different, to try something new. They don't want something new. Why? Because we've always done it this way. What if the new thing is amazing? Well, that may be amazing where you're coming from, but we've always done it this way. And that is one of those things that get us stuck. Um, I've always had a happy life because, and now I can't, and therefore I'm trapped, forever sad, because that happy life that I've always had. You see what I'm saying? So I was thinking that, writer me, I was thinking that instead of saying, we've always done this, we always do this, it would be curious and interesting to say how we did this worked then. How we did this is something I'm proud of. How we're doing it now remains to be seen. I'm open. I'm looking around the corner. How we did this, I'm proud of. Absolutely. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't say, in order to move forward, I have to ignore my past. You say, I'm going to use the tools and the lessons and the mistakes and the, oh, really didn't see that comings of what we used to do. There you are, TJ, checking in from Cape Breton. Hello, Eastern boy. What we need to do is stay present. If we live in the past, if we become shadow people and we live in the past, then the present can never really hurt us because we're not really here. We're not allowing it to touch us. It's just brushing by us. We're also not engaged. We're also a victim of what happens. If we live in the present and we say, but it has to be on my terms, I have to control everything, then it's a frantic dance to stop what is unfolding, because we can't stop what is unfolding. It is the universe. You can't say, I love it when the sun is out, I won't let the moon rise. Okay, let me know how that works tomorrow. So there's those two. There's also the victim who says, it's not fair, and I never have, and I can't, and those people, and okay, but that's, after about 5 seconds of it, fairly boring, because that means you don't get to decide anything. That means you're giving the power to people who do things like say, you can't do that on television, didn't have enduring popularity. I don't want those people washing my car, let alone telling me what I'm going to eat, where I'm going to live. I want the best life I can lean into, be part of providing and shaping and owning. And I can't do that by trying to control everything. And I can't do that by constantly kvetching and complaining about what did happen. I can certainly tell the stories, because telling the stories in the way that I'm telling them, not as a complaint, not as a no, as a guess what? As that and that don't meet, that and that don't match. Are you listening to you? Those are good stories. Why? Because they're funny. And what does a funny story do? It gives people permission to laugh. Why does laughter matter? Well, in the first place, it gets rid of all those lines. The other is positive endorphins. Everything is a yeah after you've laughed. Right after a really good laugh, here's a thing. I don't know if you do this already, but here's a little tip. Right after you make someone laugh, say something important that you want them to remember. And I mean right after they've laughed. if big laugh and you say, we have the best conversations. The person says, we do. What happens in their brain is they remember that sentence attached to all the feel good of the laughter. We have the best conversations, and boy, I felt good. I need to talk to her again. That, I think, is the key to brilliant communications, brilliant connections, brilliant marketing. You know, when I was speaking with the poor soul tasked with answering messages at the museum, I said, are you aware of the tremendous tourism revenues possible if all the fans of You Can't Fit on Television around the world knew that there was going to be an exhibit of their favorite show in Ottawa? Can you imagine the revenue potential? Can you imagine? And the reply was, this isn't a tourism agency. We do history. And I said to myself, well, you see, there are just some things you cannot fix. Walk away slowly, make no sudden motions. Leave it to someone else to solve the problem. We're not tourism, we're history. It's a museum. Who is coming? The people who live next door every day? Oh, maybe tourists. The other thing I was telling this lovely lady yesterday from the courier company whose online payment thing wasn't working. Pay now. I said, when I get to a point where someone infuriates me, I have a little a safe thing I do to restore my sanity. And she said, oh, good, share it with me. And I said, yeah, what I do in the midst of it, I catch myself rising through the stages of windmill hand movements. And I say to myself, you know what the good news is? I don't have to have them over for Christmas. We're not related. And she burst out laughing. She laughed really hard and she said, oh my God, may I use that? I said, be my guest. We're having such a wonderful conversation. Be my guest. So where I'm leading to with this kind of a rambly opening, I don't know if you can tell that I'm excited that I'm on YouTube and the live stream is going well and people are writing things. Freddie wrote something and TJ wrote something and I wrote something and it's like we're all in this together. I got 10 subscribers, new subscribers yesterday, 10 in one day. All of this because of a glitch on the other platform. If I walked around with my tie caught in my zipper saying, I can't do it, I wouldn't be doing this. How, you see when one door closes, as long as all the other doors weren't open, then you don't get this sort of, delayed slam, 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 slam reaction. 10 new, I know, right? 10 new subscribers. So it took me since November to get 79. And it took the 7th of September to get another 10. So this was a good move then? Yes, this was a great move and I'm very excited. So how this all connects is in two ways. And they all tie into the two real themes that I'm always going on about. One is fame, which is how people perceive you, how many, and how often. And the other is resilience, how we adapt, how we say, ooh, incoming, and carry on, as opposed to incoming, no, move, right? I'm not leaving. Okay. Uh, yeah, you are. uh, Fame is what we're known for. Fame is how we are labeled, how we're branded, how we're recognized. And there is a very old saying that you're only as good as your first impression or your last show. Your first impression is the first impact. My first impression of that museum is not what I would call great. And actually, it's not the museum's fault, is it? No, museum's a building, has stuff in it. Doesn't have our show in it, but I digress. It is run by people. So how did all of that fall off the rails so quickly? I could have been excited. The Children's History Museum. I could have been thrilled. After all, I was a mom to hundreds of kids on You Can't Fit on Television, and vicariously and virtually to millions of kids around the world. I should be delighted that there is a Children's History Museum in my town, in Ottawa, Canada. I should be thrilled. So how was it possible that in one swell foop, the bloom is off the rose for me? Well, good morning, Garen. Just figured it out. It's okay. We're all new here. So this is what I think happened, and I want to walk you through this because it's very interesting. There are three things that happen in any event that succeeds or fails. One is a root cause. The trigger mechanism is the inciting incident, and the outcome is the presenting problem. It begins with a root cause. We never see the root cause unless we go digging. We are not often there for the inciting incident. All we witness is the presenting problem. And so that's what we attack. But as I was explaining to this lovely lady yesterday, if someone says, I have a headache, and you said, oh, do you take any pain medication? I use this brand or that brand. That is well-meaning, but unhelpful. The better question is, did something happen recently? And if the person says, I just fell off the roof, okay, then probably one of those little Andy pills you take for a headache isn't going to be as effective as let's get you to the hospital and see if you have a concussion. So, presenting problem, headache. Inciting incident, fell off the roof. Root cause, poor communication skills. Interesting. If we attack poor communication skills, what's the chance that further missed communications are less likely to happen? Interesting, right? So here is my detective work going on with the museum. The presenting problem is no one knows anything about Canada's single most popular and game-changing, industry-shaping television series for children. No one at the museum on the committee that was chosen to select the best 100 shows actually knew enough about the shows they were evaluating. Isn't that interesting? How is that possible? Those people were chosen. Well, it must be the process they use by which they create their committees. Who designs the process? That would have to be the key decision maker. I see. And does the key decision maker at the top of the Children's History Museum have a deep understanding of children, of children's entertainment, of children's play, of child psychology? Do they get involved? Do they have youth-oriented committees and feedback? That's the question I want to know the answer to. Because if the answer is no, 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 then everything else was an inevitable outcome. And people who would travel and spend money and love Ottawa because it's so beautiful ain't coming. Missed out. Canadian government missed out on revenues. Our show missed out on a glorious opportunity to be seen and loved all over again in person. Oh my gosh, are those the lockers? Oh my gosh, Abby, is that the real mom costume? Oh my gosh, is that really? List any of the names of the kids who would go for the opening? Do a video? Missed opportunity. No point in railing against that, although that's the reason we're upset. That's the reason some serious movers and shakers are saying, excuse me, could we have a conversation about this? That's not the problem. The problem is the root cause. Let's go there. So why this matters, what have we got here? Figured out how to connect my broadcast the show to everyone at work. To everyone at work. Yay. Hi, everybody at work. Abby Mom here. Thanks for stopping by. So now I want to talk about fame. Fame is not merely this book that I wrote that is available on Amazon, not that I'm pitching. Fame is who people think we are. Fame is a pedestal. Fame is an echo of the parade gone by. Fame is that wet spot on the highway that always stays just out of reach. Fame is a ripple effect, a combination of recognition, renown, and reward. Fame is something you should never chase. If you're chasing it, you're doing it wrong. Fame is an extraordinary thing. You can always be a has-been, but you can never be unfamous. Do you know what those statements are? Aside from brilliant, they're not mine. I interviewed a bunch of people for this book, and many of them were my former TV kids. Some of them were my proteges that I coached. I asked every single person, what is your personal definition of fame? And every single one of them came up with a different answer. And some of those statements I made are those answers. When one of my proteges said, fame is the echo of a parade gone by, I said, what? What do you mean? He's a musician. He's a fabulous musician. He and his brother and his people have this incredible band. He's also a film actor and a TV actor. Working the crowd. He said, when people buy concert tickets, the reason they're buying concert tickets is because of the fun they had at the last concert. They're buying because they can't wait to see, fill in the name, again. It's not they can't wait to see for the first time. It's a reunion. It's a reconnect with a memory that is magical, and they can't wait. Brilliant. Another one of my kids. You can always be a has-been, but you can never be unfamous. What? Wow. Yeah, she said, if you star in a show, she said, Abby, I know you don't know what that's like, but suppose you start in a TV show. She said, you can never not be that. To some people, the people who love that show, you can never not be Mom or the librarian from You Can't Live on Television. You can never not be Aunt Pookie. You can never not be that completely daft, hopelessly inept mom that everybody loved because she was so inclusive. If you don't do anything else, if you don't move on with your life, if you don't take on a new challenge and attach your name to that new challenge, then Mom is the only thing you'll ever be. That's a has-been. She said, but you're not a one-hit wonder. There's nothing wrong with being a one-hit wonder. Lots of people are. Lots of singers had one song. Yeah. And it played forever and ever and ever. Amen. Okay. Not a bad thing. But people must ask them, so what are you doing now? And they're expecting news about that one song. Tony Bennett, legendary crooner, is an incredible artist. He paints. His paintings are incredible. Yeah, well, he doesn't actually pitch that when he plays Vegas. He just sings because people come to see him sing. The other thing he does, though, is he has a huge art following. Collectors love his work. Okay, so he's never not going to be Tony Bennett, leaving his heart in San Francisco. He'll always be that. But he's also Tony Bennett, artist. So he's not a has-been. He's a many things, many splendid things. And we are all many splendid things, every single one of us. And I'm not being, this Pollyanna and you can wish upon a star. I'm not talking about that. We have so many different personality sides to us. The way we talk to a puppy, he's a good boy. We don't talk like that to the boss or the garbage man. The boss gives you a raise. You don't say, "Was a good boy," because they fire you. You end up working as a garbage man. I mean, you have all these different versions of you. When you're a kid and somebody says, take out the garbage or clean your room. Okay, the way you answer that is not the way you answer the phone when your new sweetie calls. Right? That's a totally different you. A totally different you. We are many splendid things. And we have this astonishing ability to flip between them without thinking. We just do it. When the situation presents itself, the frontal cortex, the part of our brain that is stage managing everything, says, you'll need this. Now, in my life, I must admit that my stage manager brain, I think, has a younger sibling who probably couldn't get a job because periodically when my stage manager brain takes a break, goes to fluff its hair. The younger sibling steps in, and I don't always get stuff handed to me that is the most effective. I open my mouth and something remarkably stupid comes out, and I think, what the hell was that? Where did that come from? Sorry, I thought it began with a W. My mistake. Okay. We have all of these facets, all of our many splendid, different stuff that we can approach the world with. If we choose to dig in our heels and say, oh, we don't do that here. No, we've always done it this way. Well, then we're always going to be that guy. No matter who comes to the door, we're always going to be that guy. We're always going to be, well, and our comfort zone, our real estate is really, really small. And we don't get much in the way of choices. We also don't get much in the way of surprises. We also don't get much in the way of growth and excitement. And we get pretty much zip in terms of magic. So we get to choose. We get to choose if we want to be victims or we want to be Vikings. We get to choose if we want to see what's around the corner, if we want to get in the boat and head toward the horizon to see what's just beyond it, or stay where we are year after year when the crops fail, when the new overlord takes all our stuff, when the house burns down and some disease rots the food. Oh, we've always been here. Okay, well, you're not going to be here for much longer. My family goes back generations. We've always been here. Okay, but there's a boat. Get in the... What is difficult for me to learn because of my military background and my Viking ancestry is that there are people who do not wish to change. They wish to remain status quo, regardless. And why this is something worth talking about in the midst of computers that crash and storms that come, promises don't get made or followed through on, is that we have a choice. We don't have to go back to school, get a degree, become an expert in that thing, and go in and change the world. We can. Go for it. In the immediate short term, we get to say, okay, seriously? And rewrite the story, not to change the truth of it, but to rewrite our perspective of it. Was I a victim of my computer crashing? No. The computer crashed. The computer crashed. Whose fault was it that all the stuff wasn't stored on the external hard drive that I have right there? Why didn't I store everything on the external hard drive that I have right there? I don't know. I thought it began with W. So am I able to blame the computer and say I'm a victim of technology? No. No. You are capable of remarkable dimness. In a sea of all kinds of wonderfulness, every so often, and I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone because I just spoke to a whole bunch of us this last week. And then they all have to go away and figure out how to say, I meant to do that, or no, I didn't mean to do it. No, it wasn't me. Or fix it. We can kvetch, we can feel sorry for ourselves, we can eat every fattening thing in the house and teach the world a lesson when I'm ugly. How does that work exactly? Or we can say, okay, that was the invisible bus full of people who shouldn't be in charge. Oh, fortunately, it's gone away. And correct what we've been slacking on, address what we are capable of, and carry on. Carry on. Because today is amazing. Today here we are on YouTube live. Freddie is here. TJ is here. TJ and I have been on a very long journey. Not only military brats, we both fell into Ottawa and show business without checking in with each other. And one day we just came face to face at some event, and he said, "Abby," and I said, "TJ," and then we grinned. How did that happen? How in the world did that happen? I don't know. It doesn't really matter how it happened. What matters is it did. And it's wonderful. And now, spin around a couple of times, and here we are. I figured out how to get onto YouTube live stream, and so did TJ. Have we had our ups and downs? Have we had our reversals? Have we had serious hurdles and walls that we've hit? Yes. Yeah. Hard ones. Difficult. Have we recovered? Yes. Have we coped? Yes. Have we figured out a way around? Yes. My most favorite story of recovery or plan Bification is the story of a legendary British comedian named Terry Thomas. Brilliantly funny, handsome, clever, just wonderful. He developed Parkinson's disease, and some of his comedy, much of his comedy was physical. And as a result, he wasn't able to work. More importantly, because he'd had a very long career and he was very successful, so he had that, and he had a loving family. More importantly, his Parkinson's was making it difficult for him to be active, be mobile. And he was interviewed one day, and someone said, what was the most difficult thing? And he said, the day that I realized that I couldn't navigate my way through an open doorway. I just didn't have I couldn't do it. And then this extraordinary thing happened that compensated for that devastation. And the interviewer said, what was that? And he said, well, there was music playing one day. And I've always loved to dance. I'm a pretty good dancer. And I realized when I gave it a try that I could dance through the doorway. And when I heard that interview, I thought, there, right there. This is not a question of if they haven't got any bread, let them eat cake. It's not tone deaf, and it's not simplistic. The part of our brain that connects to music is not the part of our brain that manages logistics. It's a different part of the brain entirely. And so disconnected from the challenge of the logistics because of his disease and focused on the music and his ability to dance, his brain took him to a place where nothing stopped him from dancing. And he was once again free. Isn't that amazing? And that is who we are. We have all of this ability. My friend Freddie Moore, has been his entire life challenged by mental health issues. And they are overwhelming at times. Many people on the outside looking in would say to themselves, well, how will he ever accomplish anything? And when I first met Freddie, it was through the fan base of You Can't Do That on Television, the show with enduring popularity. And Freddie said, I was really disappointed when I didn't see you at the SlimeCon reunions. I said, you came to the SlimeCon reunions? He said, oh yeah. And so when we were talking for the interview for their chapter in the book, his and Chris's, I said, how did you do that? He said, I bought a train ticket. And I booked a hotel. And I knew where the studio was. And I got on the train. And I went. And I found the hotel. A couple of times I ran out of money, and I called home, and they sent it. And so I was okay. And I saw all the people that I really loved and watched for years. And I got to be at the studio, and I saw the lockers, and I saw the bottles of slime, and I got to meet Leslie and the kids. And why weren't you there, Abby? And I said, well, I was dealing with a couple of things. And he said, well, so was I. And I said, yeah, you were more resilient then than I was. Good for you. Christopher has similar stories. And so their chapter in Pivotry is about finding a way to pivot, to own their moments with their challenges. Not in spite of, not ignoring, not overcoming, with them. I do this, I have this. I do both. Why not? The only one stopping me is me. It's brilliant. It's going to be a better series of books and stories than Fame. And I never thought I would say that, because what these people shared with me is extraordinary. What Fame meant to them. My fabulous former kid, Justin, who got his PhD at Harvard, darlings, he's the one who said that fame is actually three things. It's a ripple effect. You get recognition, renown, and reward. And I said, how does that work exactly? And he said, well, recognition is if you manage to dodge a bullet. Renown is if you manage to dodge bullets every day. Reward, well, you're alive. Also, you're famous for your incredible swiftness and ingenuity. And I said, that's very interesting, and that's deeper and more profound than the example. And he said, well, thank you, Mom. We have, all of us, each one of us, challenges. Oy vey, darling, I could tell you. We have challenges that, are boring to talk about because they're challenges. And ho-hum. Somebody says, you have no idea what I've been through. Yep, I do. I believe that if we survive the age of 5, hang on a second here. I'm going to finish this. If we survive the age of 5, we have experienced a life-altering trauma. I believe it. And I'll tell you about it in a second. Trevor John says, I blame society. No, you don't. Stop that. Freddie says, watching the live stream and eating breakfast, not a bad way to start the day, especially when we're talking about you. Garen says, Freddie, welcome to the club. It's like being able to avoid a lamp, everything, every day. Yes. If we have something we can't fix, then we have to reframe it and reshape it in a way that works for us, or give up, really. So there's this interesting thing, a study that was done, and I was talking with a couple of former clients of mine. I often, in the past, and still actually, am hired to ghost people's books for them. They're very good at what they do. They're not so much at writing. So they hire me, they tell me everything they want to say, and I get into their pace and their voice, and I write, and then we tweak it so it is them, sounds like them. And it's their book. I don't need my name on it. And so this extraordinary therapist, who's a couple of books that I worked on with her, she was saying there are a couple of things that happen to us that we're not aware of. And if we could become aware of them, if we could pay attention to them, they would explain a lot that we sometimes find frustrating, curious, mysterious, and strange. The first one is this. It's called the primary imprint. I don't know if you've ever heard the story of the therapist, psychiatrist, biologist who was studying the way young animals learn to become who they are. And he was working with a small hatchlings, ducklings whose mother had died. Not ducks, geese. And he would go to the pen wearing a pair of yellow rubber boots. And he noticed one day when the boots were in the corner that the hatchlings, the goslings, gathered around the boots. And he said to himself, that's interesting. So he moved the boots to different places, and the little ones would go and be there with them. When he went walking, they would follow him when he had the boots on. Eventually, he realized that they were going to have to learn to fly or they wouldn't survive. And he happened to own an ultralight. So he had them out in a field he was wearing the boots, walked out to the ultralight, and they all followed him out. And he got in the plane and flew it, and they all watched him. Bye. Next time he did it again, and after a few tries, they took flight. They followed him. And he realized that they were imprinted by their first contact, those boots. So our primary imprint is the first warm creature we are in contact with, the first body we feel the heartbeat of. We feel the warmth. We feel sheltered by. We feel nurtured and fed and safe with. That's our primary imprint. And as we're growing up in our very, very early years, we have a very primitive brain that has only been with us since the cave days. It only knows survival. It only knows those primary basic instincts. And so we are drawn by that brain to return to that source of safety, warmth, food, shelter, comfort. We emulate that person. We become as like them as possible because that is all we know. And when you think about it, it's very true. It's very true that our first instincts are the person who nurtures us from birth. There are studies that people who are not nurtured from birth are disconnected and have difficulty attaching. The second important thing that happens is that we leave home. We leave the safety of our home, our tribe, our cave, when we are 4 or 5 years old, or 3, when we go to daycare or kindergarten, or a little later if we just jump in first year. We leave home. We leave the safety of that space for the first time. And we are without our habits and our behaviors and our norms. We are someplace new. And we are set adrift because they don't come with us and keep us connected. So we are, for the first time, all alone, seeing the world through our own eyes. And it's scary, magical, uncertain, exhausting. And in those first days when we're out and about, we start to connect with other kids our own age who have come from completely different nurturings, from completely definitions of safety and normal. And we don't have a stage manager brain yet. We don't really know what to do with all these conflicting signals. When the teacher, when somebody says, okay, it's nap time, and every kid approaches having the nap differently until the teacher sets up what's normal here. And so we learn gradually to follow rules set by another tribal leader, another alpha, not our nurturer, not our tribe at home. We start to learn these other rules. We start to connect and identify with other kids our own age. And it's in that second window that something usually happens. It's not a bad thing. It's just a pivotal moment. And an event takes place that is not an everyday, not a normal everyday event. And how we receive that event, how we process it, and how we respond, what we do, how we react, is the very first time we experience our signature moment, our fingerprint. No two signatures the same, no two fingerprints the same. We place our print, our imprint on the world for the first time. Is it part of a product of our nurturing? Sure. Is it part of a product of the tribe? Of course. Is it part of the product of the school system that we're in? Absolutely. Is it part of the product of the other people who are in these circles around us, our community and our leaders? And of course it is. Of course it is our response to that. But as we make that response, as we take that action, it becomes us, intrinsically us, always us. It becomes our first instinctual move in any new moment. And it always appears when we are challenged. It always appears when we see opportunity. It always appears when there is a surprise, a shift, a complete reset. Our natural, intuitive fingerprint moment comes front and center and says, we got this. Why that matters, why that's interesting, is that we can begin to understand each other if we pay attention to that behavior. We can understand each other more clearly, how we were raised, what we've been through, what we're likely to do, how we can be relied on, and how we need to be nourished, nurtured, and kept safe. We can understand each other better. We can stop thinking of everyone as other. Oh, they do this. We don't do that. We can stop doing that. And we can say, wow, where did that come from? Do you know how that started? We can start having conversations again. We can start sharing our stories again. Vikings were storytellers first. We didn't have a written language. All the sagas of the Vikings were written 1,000 years after. So some of the eyewitness news reports are probably a little off. Some of the horrific stories about things that we are supposed to have done, alleged to have done, were written by people who said, "Ow, he took our gold. Where did you keep it? In the church. I see. Was it guarded? No. Uh-huh. Okay then." Every single thing that we have about ourselves is something that we can share, is something that we should share. And I'll tell you why. More than anything, what happened to me yesterday was a wake-up call. It wasn't a wake-up call that I am challenged by technology. That's just a thing. That's a continuing thread in my story. What happened yesterday was a reinforcing of my storytelling ability, my desire to be in a positive place, to make people smile. And that happened. And it happened to such a degree, to such an extent, that every single frustrating, anxious making, delaying thing that happened lost its power. Like that. Gone. Now I have funny stories to tell about. Want to know what happened to me last week? And people can go, "Ooh, which of the gods did you offend?" No, it was just the invisible bus. Just an invisible bus. So is there a moral to this particular video? Yeah, the moral to this particular video is that we are all famous for something. Guess who gets to choose what it is? We can all rewrite the story. My stories, my dad used to tell me these stories. My stories always began once upon a time, a long time ago, in a far off land. There lived a king who had a beautiful daughter, the princess. My dad was no fool. He knew how to get a completely rapt, captive audience.
Am I the princess, Daddy?
Yes, you are.
Oh boy.
Vikings invented fishing. Did I ever mention that? Every single thing we have that presents itself to us, we hold the power to pivot. We hold the power to look at the script and say, who wrote this thing? And flip it. Not flip it off, but flip the script, rewrite it, reset the role, choose the costume, and make our entrance every day. We are in charge of that. Isn't that amazing? That's why I didn't call the book Pivots. I called it Pivotry in Motion, because we, us humans, have this incredible ability to take pivoting to the next level and pretty much turn it into an art form. I said to myself, if a poet can write poetry, we can own pivotry. Don't you think? Listen, I have to tell you, this whole business with one platform not working and the other one, why did I wait so long? I don't know. I had to learn to do this, right? This is wonderful. It's magical. I'm loving it. I hope you are. Knowing that you're watching, I can see you're watching, you're talking to me. Knowing that you're watching and commenting talking amongst yourselves. We are creating a cocktail party, right? And everybody is where they need to be, doing what they need to do. And Garen has invited his coworkers to watch. Yay, Garen. And hello, everybody. You need to follow me on that other platform and subscribe here because I have plans. I am not a one-hit wonder. Yeah, I have stories and I have projects and I have really interesting next things coming. And you, every one of you, needs to be part of it. Some of you already are. It's only a matter of time. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you for watching live. Thank you for liking, for subscribing, for telling your friends. Thank you for being part of what this is. There's a thing about a Viking boat. It takes many people to get us where we want to go. And that's what you and I are doing together, twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, every week. So just before I sign off, I want to say two things. Be good to you. The weekend is coming. We have a new month. It's a full moon in this part of the world, so, up and down stuff. Weekend is coming. Temperatures are changing. Weather is being unpredictable. So be good to you. Take care of you. Invest in me time. And hug your loved ones. They love you. They need you, no matter what they say. And pretty much no matter what you do. All right? And I will see you bright, alert, with new stories next Tuesday. I hope it's a date. Thank you for watching.